Are you running SAP on Azure and want to connect to your SAP data using Logic Apps? Then this video is for you. Hi, my name is Holger Bruchelt and welcome to our channel SAP on Azure. In this video, we want to take a look at how to connect Logic Apps to your SAP system running on Azure. Typically, when you want to connect your Azure Logic App workflows to SAP, you need two components: the on-premises data gateway and the SAP .NET Connector. The on-premises data gateway acts as a bridge to connect the Logic App service on the internet with the SAP system behind a firewall. The SAP .NET Connector basically translates the Logic App requests in a BAPI or RFC proprietary protocol that allows you to call the SAP system. Now, when your SAP system is running on Azure, there should not be a requirement to use the on-premises data gateway. Using Logic App standards, you can configure the workflow to connect to the very same virtual network that your SAP system is running on. By this, you are already behind the firewall and you don't need a proxy. There is still the question of the SAP .NET Connector. Well, now you can make the required libraries available to the Logic App runtime so that even the protocol translation can be done from within the Logic App. Let's take a look. As a starting point, I have again deployed an SAP system using the SAP Cloud Appliance library. The SAP system is running. It has a Java stack here, which I don't need, but it has an S/4HANA 2022, and it has a Windows Remote Desktop. So everything is installed here or visible also in my Azure portal. I can see the different virtual machines here for my SAP systems, and also here for this front-end server, for this Windows front-end servers. And what I can do there, obviously, I can log on. I can go to the SAP GUI. I can open up the function module builder, basically. And for example, I can just execute this BAPI business partner get list functionality. And here I get, for example, the business partners that are stored in this demo SAP system. Now, what I want to do is I want to connect to this BAPI from Logic App. And the way how I would typically do this, I would obviously create a Logic App, but before that I would install an on-premises data gateway, which is part of the SAP network, basically. So it has access to this SAP system. And that's what the on-premises data gateway is basically for, so that it can bridge this boundary of the internet, so go behind the firewall. I would also install the SAP .NET Connector, which has the appropriate files to actually make the connection to the RFC or to the BAPI. And that's when I would actually then start calling the SAP action from my Logic App system and then retrieving the business partners. Now, what we have recently released is actually, as part of Logic App Standard, are two really exciting things. So the first thing is, with Logic App Standards, I can actually deploy my Logic App within the virtual network of an SAP system that is running on Azure already. So very much like this SAP system here, for example, is running in a vnet on Azure. So we can see here there's a virtual network here where this SAP system is deployed. Now with Logic App Standards, I can deploy this in the same vnet, basically, which means this requirement of the on-premises data gateway is no longer there because I am already in the network that can access to the SAP system. The other really interesting thing is that for the SAP .NET Connector, I can take the required libraries and upload them to the Logic App Standards so that I can really make this call to the SAP system from Logic Apps. And let's give it a try. Let's take a look how this looks like. So I am here in the subscription, and what I'll do is I will start by creating a Logic App. So this Logic App now is here in the very same resource group. Obviously, I could put it somewhere else, but we'll just keep it here in this resource group. We'll give it a name, Logic App to access SAP data. We'll put it in the same region as our SAP system. So I'll also place it in West Europe, and we'll use here the plan type standard. This is really required to have this vnet integration. That's actually all that we need for now. So I'll just click on Review and Create. and then click on Create. Okay, so our logic app is now created. So if we go to the logic app, we can see that it's been deployed, it's running in West Europe. And I could go ahead and start with the designer right away. But before I do this, I need to prepare a few things. So the first thing that I want to do is I actually want to make sure that the logic app is connected to the very same vnet as our SAP system. So this vnet integration is currently turned off. So what I'll need to do is I want to connect this logic app to the vnet that our SAP system is running in. And what I've done actually already up front, so in the vnet, if we go here to the subnets of this specific vnet, so of this SAP CAL default West Europe vnet, I have already created a dedicated subnet called subnet for logic app, which I want to leverage now for the integration. So here, if I click on vnet integration, I can add here to the virtual network integration. And now you can already see there's this SAP CAL default West Europe subnet for logic app. So I'll just select this one and click on connect. So now our network integration is created. So we can now, or we should now be able to really connect to this very same subnet, and from there obviously to our SAP system, which means if I go back to our logic app, I should be able now to ping or connect to the SAP system. But in order to make the integration to RFCs and BAPIs, I actually also need to upload now the required files from the SAP Net Connector. So what I need to do first is I need to go obviously here to this page, to the SAP connector for Microsoft .NET 3.0. So I'll stick to this one for now. I have downloaded these files using my S user. I installed the required files, and I have now access to the relevant DLLs. What I'll do is, if I go here to the artifacts and to the assemblies, I can upload required DLLs directly to my logic app standards. So what I'll do is I just click on Add, and then I can click here on Browse for Files. And I can now select these DLLs that are part of the SAP Net Connector. Now there's one thing that I need to keep in mind. In this screen here, I can only upload files that are smaller than 4 megabytes. So I'll skip this 6 megabyte for now. I'll just click on Open, Upload Files. And now if I refresh this page here, I can see the 3 files that have been uploaded. So in order to upload this last file, and actually to check out and validate some of these configurations that we have done, I will scroll down here to Development Tools, and under Development Tools, under Advanced Tools, there is a link that gives us access to the Kudu tool. And the Kudu tool actually allows us, first of all, to upload larger files, but it also has a very cool other capability, because I'm now basically on the logic app standard applications, and from there I can also ping and verify the connection to my SAP system. So if I go here to the debug console, I go to PowerShell, then first of all, what I can do is I can navigate to the files that we just uploaded. So if I go to Sites, www.root, lib, built-in.net, and here I can see the 3 files. So what I'll do is I'll just drag and drop the missing file. So our 6 megabytes file, I'll drop this file over here, and it's been uploaded. And now I also have the SAP Enco and .NET Connector utils DLL file available here. So while I'm here, actually, I want to double check that the configuration, this network integration, is actually working. So what I can do is I want to take a look at our SAP system. So here, this is our SAP S/4HANA system with the IP address 10.0.0.126. If I take this URL and do a TCP ping to this IP address to port 3200, where basically the RFC connection is taking place. Then I can see that this connection is now working. So because of this vnet integration, this logic app is now able to call the SAP system. And with this, we are actually good to go. We have everything prepared. We have the network integration. We have the required .NET Connector files in there. And now I can really go here to the workflow designer and start creating my logic app. So let's create now our workflow. We'll call it fetch business partner names or something like that. We'll make it a stateless scenario. Obviously, we could also use a stateful, but just for the testing purpose, I'll select stateless. We'll go to our workflow here. And from developers, I can directly go here to the designer. Now, since we want to focus on the SAP connection, we'll make a very, very simple flow. So we'll just add an HTTP trigger. So when an HTTP request is received, we want to trigger off this specific flow. And what do we want to do? We want to actually call our SAP system. So if I search here for SAP, I can see here this SAP grouping. If I click on see more, then you can see all the different actions. And what I want to do is I just want to use this call function in SAP. We'll give it a name to S/4HANA. This is our S/4HANA system. We'll enter the client number 100. We'll enter the SAP username and the password. And then we specify the server host. So as before, we want to connect to the internal IP address. So this 10.0.0.126 will use the service port, the port number 3200 and the system number 00. Now all that is left is I just need to create the XML to call our BAPI. So what I'll do is I'll just paste this here, the call BAPI EPM get list. We just want to have the first rows of this specific business partners, and that's basically it. So as a last step, the only thing that I want to do, so just that we have something to see, I will use here this response trigger basically, which just allows me to return some information. And here for the body, I'll just take the XML response that I'm getting from my RFC call. With this, we're actually good to go. I'll just click on save. And if I go back here to the HTTP trigger, I can see the URL that can trigger this flow. And if I open up this one in a new browser, I can just click on execute. And we're getting the results back from our SAP system. Maybe one last thing that we can just verify or double click. If I go here to the overview screen, since this is stateless flow, I can enable here the debug mode. And if I just query this URL again and go back, then if I take a look at the run history, and we can see the different runs that were executed, where we have the HTTP trigger, where we have the SAP call that is using the internal IP address, that is using the uploaded SAP.NET connector to connect to our SAP system and retrieve all the relevant information from there. You can find additional information on how to configure this setup via the links shown here and provided in the show notes. I hope this video helped you to understand the concept and configuration to connect your Logic App standards to your SAP system on Azure. Let me know if you have any questions and subscribe. Thanks for watching.